Hello, in this video we will discuss about the female reproductive cycle. So let's begin to understand from the reproductive system of the female, and then we will understand the menstrual cycle and ovarian cycle, etc. So here is the female reproductive system, which that is contained here is the endometrium, red color showing in the figure, and this is the basically the endometrium and ovary. The pair of ovary are present in the reproductive system of the female, while here is the vagina and cervix, and this is the fallopian tube, which that is used for the transformation of the egg into the uterine wall, the endometrium. So this is, let's begin to understand from brain onset of the puberty, the menstrual cycle will occur. And this is the cerebrum and limbic system, which that's contain hypothalamus and the pituitary gland as well as the thalamus. On the other hand, the corpus callosum is present, and this is the cerebellum. And the external and internal stimulus, for example the vision through vision or sensation via a touch, will lead to increase the trigger the menstrual cycle due to the puberty for increase the estrogen in the female. While here you can see this is the basically the pituitary gland we are drawing with the hypothalamus. So upper part is the neurosecretory cell, which that is the part of hypothalamus, which that will release onset of the puberty gonadotropin releasing hormone. When gonadotropin releasing hormone will increase, the neurosecretory cell will secrete the gonadotropin releasing hormone, will bind with the cell, and this will bind with the cell of the adenohypophysis. So the increase of the follicle stimulating hormone will target to the ovary for primary follicles. So it will bind with the primary follicle receptor via a follicle stimulating hormone receptor, and the primary follicle will proliferate, and this is the ovary. After the proliferation with via a time, which that is time required, the 20 basically the time is required 13 days for the ovulation. So in this way here you can see this is the basically the formation and the maturation of the oocyte, which that is oocyte will cover via a follicular fluid inside, and this inside follicular fluid will protect, and this will lead to meiosis, will lead to produce the haploid gamete is known as egg. So here is the outer covering is known as the follicular cell, which that is surrounded around the follicular fluid, and inside is the egg are present, which that is will become a secondary oocyte, and primary oocyte proliferate via a time wise, which that will be when the luteinizing hormone will increase from the pituitary gland, and this luteinizing hormone will bind with the here is the secondary oocyte. After the binding, due to the cell division, and the polar body will produce. We will not understand about that meiosis, but you can understand the half number of chromosome containing egg will occur. So in this way here is after the here is the inhibition of follicle stimulating hormone via after the stimulation to further stimulation of the primary follicle will inhibit due to the inhibition of the hypothalamus for production of gonadotropin releasing hormone. After this binding, the luteinizing hormone will lead to ovulation. Inside the ovulation will occur, and the ovulation the egg will move into the fallopian tube, and this is the egg contain corona radiata. The bigger picture you can understand the egg cell, the haploid contains zona pellucida, which that is surrounded the secondary oocyte is surrounded via a zona pellucida, and the corona radiata is the uppermost layer. So anyhow, let's here is we will discuss about the third step. This is the decrease the follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the pituitary to secrete the luteinizing hormone for stimulation to ovulation. So the luteinizing hormone will bind with the secondary oocyte. After the binding will lead to ovulation, the triggering of the ovulation. So the corpus luteum is here, which that is corpus luteum formation. This is the glandular structure is known as the corpus luteum. The yellowish glandular structure will begin to produce the estrogen and progesterone, which that will maintain the endometrium wall of the uterus for the conceiving of the egg, as well as after the fertilization the conceiving of the blastocyst. So remember, after here is the endometrium, and here is the inhibition of follicle stimulating hormone and gonadotropin releasing hormone will trigger the endometrium wall development, endometrial development, and in this way the proliferative phase will lead to after the secretory phase will lead to increase the proliferation of the endometrium spongy structure to increase the blood circulation. So the hormone develop the endometrium and make it receptive for implantation. This hormone of the zygote, implantation of the zygote and the placenta formation. So the placenta formation will be occur through the production of the estrogen and progesterone. So the progesterone is basically used for the homeostasis of the pregnancy. In this way, the progesterone will maintain the pregnancy. When progesterone will decrease, the delivery of the baby, the parturition will be occur. So after the corpus luteum, if the fertilization will not occur, so the 3 to 7 days basically the corpus luteum will degenerate to lead to increase again follicle stimulating hormone is the positive feedback, and in this way the primary follicle further will be developed. So let's begin to understand the female reproductive cycle. So the female reproductive cycle is basically we can classify. So this is the ovarian cycle we will discuss. So the thickness of endometrium and ovarian events we will discuss. So this is after the menstruation in 1 to 3 days. So the ovarian cycle will begin the developing of follicle. The primary follicle will develop. After the developing of the primary follicle, the proliferative phase, this proliferation will be occur within the 3 to 13 days. In this way, the proliferation will lead to mature follicle also, and in this way, the mature follicle due to the production of luteinizing hormone, and the follicle stimulating hormone will decrease drastically, while the estradiol will also a little bit increase. So in this way here you can see this is the ovulation. After the ovulation, the early corpus luteum will begin to produce the estrogen and progesterone. The estrogen is also produced from the ovary. So this is the progressive corpus luteum will lead to degenerate if the fertilization will not occur. So this is known as the secretory phase, which that is within the 13 to 27 days. After the 27 days to 2 days, the menstruation will be occur. 2 to 3 days, the menstruation will occur for again the menstrual cycle preparation. So in this way, this hormonal changes here is the thickness of the endometrium will be regulated, and in this way the decreasing and increasing of the endometrium. So the sloughing of the endometrial wall due to the a decrease of the basically the corpus luteum for production of progesterone and estrogen will lead to decrease. After the decreasing, this is the uterine cycle. When the spongy endometrial wall will decrease, will lead to bleeding. So let's here we will discuss from day 1 to 28 day the hormonal changes. So the hormonal changes, which that is basically the strongly regulate the menstrual cycle. How it's possible? Let's begin to understand. This is the menstruation, ovulation, and menstruation again. Day 28 to 3 day. So this is the follicular phase, and this is the luteal phase. So the follicular phase means the follicle development and the ovulation, while the luteal phase means the corpus luteum, which that is developed to produce the estrogen and progesterone. So anyhow, here basically the progesterone is the major hormone for the maintenance of pregnancy, While here you can see the follicular phase, the follicle stimulating hormone drastically decrease during the follicular phase and end of the follicular phase, and the ovulation will be occur. After the ovulation, the follicle stimulating hormone will not more produce, so it means the primary follicle will not develop. If the follicle stimulating hormone increase more, so the primary follicle develop more, it means the superfecundation can be occur. Uh, on the other hand, the basically is on the other hand you can understand, and here is the estradiol will be regulate here. The basically is the between the follicular phase and luteal phase, the higher amount of estradiol, while the progesterone will increase during the luteal phase due to the corpus luteum, while the follicle stimulating hormone will again increase after the end of the menstruation. While here is the increase of the estradiol during the progesterone increase due to the corpus luteum. So this is the menstruation will be occur. So the luteinizing hormone will produce more during the ovulation. Why? Because luteinizing hormone will bind with the secondary follicles, secondary mature follicle, which that will lead to ovulation. So remember, the luteinizing hormone is used for the ovulation. So anyhow, the hypogonadism is a problem within the menstrual cycle periods, menstrual cycle disorder, in which here I am discussing here the problem is the lack of menstruation, slow or absent breast growth, hot flashes, and loss of body hair, low or absent sex drive, and milky discharge from breast, and libido less. So in this way, let's begin. Here is we will understand the mechanism of the hypogonadism. So the hypogonadism is due to the basically is the can be a Down syndrome, the Turner syndrome, and Klinefelter syndrome. Basically is which that will lead to hypogonadism. And in this way, you can see this is the hypothalamus will trigger the gonadotropin releasing hormone. If the decrease of the gonadotropin releasing hormone, if the pituitary gland is normal, so the primary hypogonadism. While the decrease of the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which that will lead to decrease, it means the pituitary gland problem, and the hypothalamus problem, it means the secondary hypogonadism. So while the normal case here, the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone will trigger the ovulation, will lead to also produce the estrogen. And the estrogen is the basically major pregnancy holder, and the progesterone which that is released from the corpus luteum. So thanks for watching.